Hello world, we are the Brother Floggers. We're here to help you know what to watch and who to watch it with so you can know if a movie is groovy for you. Today we'll be reviewing the movie called Bloodshot. And this is quite a few stars in it. We've got Vin Diesel as the main character, Eiza Gonzalez from Alita and Baby Driver, Dr. Emil Harting, I think that's how you say it, Guy Pearce, of course, in quite a few movies like Iron Man 3, and Wiggins, played by Lamorne Morris, who is
got a cameo in Jumanji.
And I'm trying to think of what else he's in.
He's not in
that
other
much,
stuff.
He's pretty good in this one, though. He's got a funny character. It was directed by Dave Wilson, who's pretty much a new director. Has a lot of history in visual art or visual effects.
Visual art.
As opposed to audio art. Well, I guess that is art. So he's been involved in a lot of big movies, but not like as a director. So kind of a showcase for him to show how he did. And well, I don't know if he did that well. We'll talk about that. So we did invite Vin Diesel today, but when we called him, all he said was, "I am Groot." So I'm not sure if that means he's coming or if he's not.
We couldn't interpret that.
I don't have the translation for that one. The synopsis is Garrison, who's a special forces military guy, dies, is brought back to life by nanobots. And Dr. Harding manipulates him using mind wipes to basically kill whoever he wants.
That's convenient.
Yep. Yeah, it sucks when you can't remember why you're killing people. This came out, it hit theaters right before like the big virus scare, so it did get a little taste of the theaters, but it was like the last weekend before everything went kaput. So.
And everything did poorly that weekend anyway, because everybody was kind of getting scared. So if you look this up and you're like, oh, this is terrible, it didn't have really a fair shot. It was just thrown out there. And
yeah,
then
it was just a bloodshot.
VOD.
That's good, right? That was good. And now it's some video on demand. If I can speak.
Yeah, bad.
So we watched it, and I guess do you want to start with what we liked?
Yeah, we can do that.
It did really well on the visual effects, and probably because Dave.
Don't be such a Dave.
Dave, that's his history, and I remember thinking a couple times before I even realized that Dave was in visual effects, like, oh, this is like really good. It's really CGI. Cool. They did a really good job on that.
And that's the thing that really makes this movie is the visual effects are really phenomenal.
They're very
with
visual.
The nanobots. They're very visual. In fact, the women are kind of a visual effect as well as the violence in this movie.
Yeah, interestingly enough, KT, you have to emphasize each syllable.
It's not Katie.
It's not Katie, it's KT. She always forgets the lower half of her shirt. For
some reason, she's like a warrior, but she always is missing half of her clothes.
I guess it's kind of like Jumanji, too. She always has the...
Yes. It's kind of like pretty much all the women in this show, they forget half of their clothing. It's pretty much most of the
yeah, and it could have been due to like high winds or something. I'm not sure if it just blew it off, but
maybe so. I don't know.
I actually thought the story itself is a good story.
It's a really cool
It's an interesting story. Yeah, they didn't end up doing like a great job of delivering it.
Yeah, well, there's just so many plot holes in this movie that they have this. The idea of the story of the movie is pretty cool, and how everything works, but they just don't really explain how everything works.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it like confusing, and you're like, wait a minute, how can he do this and how can he do that? And it doesn't really answer questions. But the premise of the movie is cool, and if you want just a movie that you can watch crazy cool visual effects, action sequences, and half-naked women, yeah. This is your movie.
Perfect. Yeah, and it is based off a comic, the Valiant comics.
Yeah.
So different than Marvel and DC. And it'd be interesting to read the comic and see if they explain it a little bit more. Because in this one, they don't really give you... They're just like, well, science and robots, and he's superpowers.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
It just doesn't come together very well.
There's just not... And it's not just on the nanobots, too, because like KT has some exceptional abilities.
Yeah, there's other people there that have...
I think... The only thing they mentioned on KT, though, is she's like a Navy swimmer, like a rescue swimmer.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how that made her super. I couldn't figure that part out either.
Yeah. A lot of just big question marks of what is going on, why is this happening? it didn't really make sense. Most of the time.
And there's definitely some plot holes. We won't tell you because that would be a spoiler. But you're at the end, you're like, huh.
What just happened?
It doesn't make any sense
How
at
does
all.
that happen?
Not really sure how it got here, but
but it was cool watching it because of visual effects.
Yeah.
There was some really sweet action sequences. I really liked the fighting.
The whole,
even though the fighting sometimes didn't make sense because he refused to use guns and ran to bullets. Yeah, it was really cool looking.
Yeah, the whole there's a tunnel scene. That was really creative.
That was super cool.
And then just the lighting and the fighting. Yeah, that was really cool. But it's just I don't know why I never picked up a gun either. But
because he had superpowers.
That's true.
You don't need guns when you have superpowers. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Sony carries on with this comic book series or if they try and do like a Marvel thing where they bring other characters from the Valiant comic books in. Because potentially they could. I mean, it'll be interesting with the virus scare. I mean, we just don't know how this movie could have done.
Yeah, we don't. Rotten Tomatoes had okay scores. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. And like I said, it's not a bad movie. There's just a lot of plot holes and.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
It's a fun action flick.
But you do have to be cautious, knowing going into it there is a love scene where they show the woman is half naked
because she's making love.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Actually, they're just hanging out.
I just need to see it. And then of course it's fairly violent. So this is a movie that I would watch on VidAngel again, filtered, so I could kind of skip out those parts. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's mostly just that one scene. Too.
Yeah, it really is, and it's just at the beginning. They of course had to throw one more visual effect in there.
Yeah, she was
for those
just half
who like
naked.
to see that. That's right. She was full naked.
Yeah, so if you just start the movie 5 minutes in, you'll miss that scene, and you won't even miss any plot development.
There's really not a lot you miss because they kind of show.
They show that everything repeated anyway.
Repeated. I mean, there's not a lot of well-rounded characters in this movie. Wiggins is probably the most well-rounded because he's kind of the comic relief. He's pretty funny. He does a really good job.
He has a great personality. And
he's like a kind of nerdy, but
nerdy genius,
funny, eccentric genius guy
who thinks he's really funny, but no one else does.
Yeah, and he's all alone all the time with his computer, and he realizes that. So that was nice to have him kind of because all the rest of them are kind of like very intense,
killers.
Serious. The doctor. Vin Diesel's character, all of them were very intense killers. Exactly.
Yeah, they are.
And so
they're all trained killers.
Yeah.
Except for the doctor who's trained to bring her back her livers, but he uses them to kill people.
So he's pretty
That's a technical term. Bring her back her livers, or whatever.
Livers. I have lots of people I bring back livers. So I like that. And I like the action, but not like
the first
fighting action,
yeah,
not the other kind of action.
It depends what kind of action you're looking for.
I didn't want that action. So I think overall, what would you rate this at?
So overall, I'd probably only give it a half a thumb. There's enough plot holes that it kind of bothered me. But I mean, like I said, the action was fun. So it's a decent watch. But I couldn't give it a full thumb recommendation.
That's out of 2, I'd give it a half. I mean, it's just super cool action sequences, and the story had so much potential, but there's just so many plot holes and so many things that I just had question marks on that I was like, okay, I don't know. It was almost frustrating watching it because you're like, this doesn't make sense.
So we hope you enjoyed our review of Bloodshot. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below for any plot holes that you noticed. And we don't want too many comments, so maybe limit to 500. And we'll see you guys next movie.